Hello, lacrosse friends, and welcome once again to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. I'm Steven Stamp with Adam Levy. We're very pleased to have you with us here on Blue Squatch Productions. And as we usually do, we're starting with a look back at the week that was, but it's pretty hard to avoid one big story. That, of course, is the Tyson Bell interaction with fans in Denver. It has kind of taken over, and right now, as we record, the league is investigating, concluding their investigation. They know what a serious incident it is. They have no further comment other than they are investigating. The Halifax Thunderbirds, reasonably so, have said they're gathering information. They're not ready to make a comment, but it's gotten out there. And Adam, you were pointing out, you've been tracking the visibility of this video of Tyson Bell punching one fan and hitting another in the face with his stick. And how's it doing?
Yeah, unfortunately for the National Lacrosse League and for Tyson Bell, Barstool Sports got a hold of the video, and it's now up to 2.8 million views on X alone. And that was posted, I believe, at 5 p.m. Eastern time last night. So only about 16 hours that it's been up. It is definitely taking the internet by storm in all the wrong ways. So definitely not a good look.
So we'll start with the actual incident. You know, it's a couple of young fans clearly taunting. I mean, one of them obviously giving the finger, you can see in the video, to the Halifax players coming off. We heard they were saying some things, pretty untoward things to Tyson Bell about his personal life, which is not cool. You're getting into, you know, family and loved ones. But he obviously went beyond the line that you need to toe with the punch and the slash. And, you know, then security jumped in eventually, and his teammates, Jake Withers, grabbed him by the face mask and kind of pulled him out of there. But the incident itself, like, ooh, how do you respond to that as a league?
Yeah, and I think Commissioner Frew definitely needs to be swift and stern with his decision making in this process, considering how this is blowing up. I also just want to make as an important note that the video that has circulated around the internet was released by the father of one of the two kids, and that is how it got public. And so if anyone was wondering where the origins of that were, it was the family of the accused assaulted, I guess, although we have been,
easy to start the video wherever you want to start it, and maybe not show the 4 quarters before leading up. We don't know everything that kind of, because I definitely did not watch the game live, and I'm sure it wasn't on the game board as it was happening. But no, like you said, there's no excuse for it. It is interesting to see, because as such a new young league, I mean, sponsorship and partners you guys have talked about, it's going to make things hard for that. It's nice to get eyeballs. Everybody says, you know, all media is good media. I don't really agree. I don't think it's the look the league wants, but more importantly is the sponsorship. As the league was growing, they're on ESPN now. I mean, how do you guys think it affects that?
So it's interesting that there is the saying, all news is good news, all media is good media, any coverage you get. And it's interesting because it's, for a lot of people, it's going to be a black eye for the league. It's going to be a difficult situation. How, you know, is it harder to sell to sponsors? At the same time, what else came up yesterday? Well, it was the anniversary of the brawl in Madison Square Garden, where Mike Milbury and a bunch of Boston Bruins went into the stands. Mike Milbury took a guy's shoe off and hit him with it. You know, Terry O'Reilly. Now, that was a little different because fans were right on top of the action like they were here in Denver, but one of them grabbed one of the Bruins players' sticks and hit him with it. So then, you know, you're defending yourself. But there were, like 8 or 10 Bruins went into the stands. Terry O'Reilly's climbing up over seats to get to a fan and beating him up. And you know, Milbury with the shoe, of course, is quite famous. Those videos get a lot of views too, and the NHL seems to be doing okay. You know, everyone knows the Ron Artest incident in Detroit, right? And you know, so many things that get a lot of attention. Is it, in a perverse way, maybe going to help the league blow up?
So I don't think so. I think that the thing that, and first of all, there was a very big culture change. I know from a basketball perspective, I was a huge fan at the time. I remember watching the Ron Artest incident live, and you know, I was very glad to hear, as I'm sure many were, that the fans were banned from that stadium, and I think all NBA arenas for life. And look, once we get the full evidence of what happened, and I'm sure it will be as equally damning to the fans that were involved here as it looks like Tyson was to them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they will get an equally harsh punishment as Tyson will. And I think that that's very deserved. But I think that there is a line for professional athletes and how they need to act in those situations. And I think that the biggest difference here, Stamper, is that the NLL, as much as you and me and Greg and all of us want to act and believe that the NLL is way bigger than it is, sadly, when you read the comments on Barstool Sports, they're all over the internet. People are like, what is this sport? Or pro box lacrosse, or I don't know about this. And the interesting thing is that a lot of these people have this odd perception, this old perception, I should say, of, oh, these are just these snotty prep school, pretentious kids who think they have everything. That couldn't be further from the athletes in the National Lacrosse League, these hardworking blue collar guys. So it just shows you how where the mainstream fan or the mainstream sports fan is just so unaware and detached of this. And when you see things like this, it just is going to make people not take it seriously.
Maybe, but does it not also, and I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate a bit, but does it also not have, how many views has it got right now?
Well, now that since we started recording, it's probably up to 2.8 or 2.9 million.
Okay, 2.9 million views. I'm going to say half of those people don't know lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
And now they know
maybe more than half, honestly,
right?
especially in America. So that's one thing, like Stamper, in Canada, you guys, if I'm speaking to somebody who's Canadian and I say we film box lacrosse, everybody knows what it is. If I say it to an American, most people look at me like I got 5 heads. They're like, what? I'm like, it's a way better version of lacrosse, I think, in my opinion. But no, the impression of lacrosse players in the United States, honestly, is that white Ivy League, like prestige, rich parents type of view, whereas the box lacrosse community with the Native American and the grittiness that goes up through the Canadian minor league system with the juniors and seniors starting right there. I mean, it's a completely different, like you said, a very blue collar feel. And like Stamper said, though, I bet you, I would be willing to bet closer to 75% of the people don't know what box lacrosse is that have seen that that video.
Yeah, and I would just want to add also that, I think that when it comes to, while people don't, recognize what the sport is, I think that it's a situation where, I totally just had a blank train of thought. Maybe we just cut that out because I totally just forgot what I was going to say.
I say we keep it in.
7:45. Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so you were saying, Stamper, yeah, I totally just blanked on everything.
Oh, now you're going to make me go. Yeah, I just wonder if there will be an uptick in people being like, oh, this is interesting. But I mean, it's tough because as a league, you have to respond in an appropriate way, but also like, how do you take advantage of it? Like it's a tricky moral line too, right? I mean, philosophical line, like, do you take advantage of, if there are a bunch of new people seeing it, do you take advantage of that? I don't know. And we have a Preston sighting. We've got your daddy cup.
Hi. Do you want to say hello? What are you doing?
Yeah, so it's 2.7 now.
2.7? Okay.
Yeah, I went to check it while you guys were talking, but yeah, you see he goes, oh yeah. It doesn't look good. This is, I actually originally, I hadn't watched this game at all. The way I found it was at the IL Indoor. Like I said, every morning I wake up, I open the app up and I'm scrolling through and I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? And of course, then had to deep dive into it. And yeah, it's definitely not the look everybody's going for. But I got to ask, how is Preston doing this year on his picks? The one time I watched, he had a very rough weekend. But since then, has he cleaned it up a little bit, buddy?
Yeah, he's doing good. Preston, how are you doing on your picks? Good? Oh, you're shy. I know. I
feel like that about my picks a lot of the time too.
I think he's in the middle of the pack, right, Preston? Yeah.
I've started doing better since I started just copying his. If you watch our show, you notice I just watched Preston's pick and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go with him because he did way better than I did the first 2 weeks. So we're going to call it good from there.
Yeah, he had a bad weekend last weekend. I think he went 2 for 2. But he's for a 3-year-old, not so bad.
Geez, 2 and 2. That's not that bad.
It's way better than I've had the first 2 weeks.
We have high standards in this house, Stamper.
So shall we move on? Do we have anything else to say about that, or we want to actually take a look at a game that we previewed last week?
Please, yeah. I mean, as we can all agree, the product on the floor and the potential of the sport is incredible. And, we did see that in the other 3 games.
And we previewed Philadelphia at Las Vegas, the back-to-back, the home and home. And boy, it was a tough one for Vegas. Tough one for me because I picked them to win. I actually maybe shouldn't bring that up, but I thought they're going to bounce back. I thought they're going to have a really strong game. And, as we're talking about picks, I blew that one. Obviously, Philadelphia came in and just dominated in that game.
I mean, the Philadelphia offense right now looks amazing. They look the best that I arguably would say have ever looked, with the amount of options that they're getting. They've got I think they've got 6 different guys with 5+ goals this season. You're seeing again a shooting percentage last weekend of 22%, which is definitely above what the averages usually are. Usually, I think they're around, at the end of the season, the best teams are around 18-19%. So, and then really when it comes to, if you look at it, I mean, defensively, there were times, and it's all about playing a full 60 minutes, where it looked like the teams were pretty even. You're seeing some great play out of Connor Kirst. He's really going out there and hustling. And I have to say, having seen him in person in Philadelphia post game, he's a big, strong dude. Looks really committed to the game. You can see why he's also beloved in the field game. But yeah, when it comes to goaltending, when it comes to not playing the full 60 minutes and not hitting the shots, I mean, again. And while his assists are totally high, 17 assists for the season for Jonathan Donville, still only 1 goal. I think he's shooting 3% on the season. So he is not finding the back of net, and that's pretty rough as well.
And I mean, I'm a big Landon Kells believer and fan, but boy, he's had a rough couple of weeks.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you guys think the Philly offense is that good? I mean, they had 18 or 15 goals against San Diego, or has it really been the goaltending? Because I'm not a huge Allegrieri fan. I think he's going to be a better goalie, but I think he's still not there yet. And then Kells, like you said, the last 2 weeks have been bad. So do you guys think Philly's going to be able to continue this momentum, or do you think it was a flash in the pan because they kind of, played a couple of weaker goalies at the beginning?
It's in between. It's they're not going to score 15, 16 goals a game all season.
Right.
That's just not going to keep happening. And they were up against a team that's been at the bottom of the league and looks, certainly is again at this point. Against San Diego, again, Chris Origlieri did not have his best start. He's in the phase where he's got to adjust to the adjustments people have made. So they're not that good. They're not as good as they've looked. They're also better than they have been, I think. I mean, Mitch Jones is so good. Joe Rizzateris has been great. Again, he's not going to score 13 points every game. He did on the weekend, but he's a terrific player who obviously is playing well as he gets into the later stages of his career. And you've got some nice additions. We've talked about Sam Leclerc. They have a lot of good things going on that team, and they're going to be a tough offense to stop.
Yeah, Phil Caputo as well. Throw him in there. You definitely have a lot of options. Brendan O'Neill, and I know we've talked about it, whether he has 1 move, 2 moves, whatever it is, the fact is that they're showing him attention, and he's a big, strong body who, even when he doesn't have the ball, is learning that he's got to be physical off ball, set big picks. And
he was so much better this week. Like, he did so many more things. He was showing he's not a one-trick pony, which actually speaks to his developing intelligence as a box player. That, the first week it was working. Just keep shooting from the outside. He made some nice inside moves, some spins. He showed his athleticism. And we haven't even mentioned Holden Catoni, who might be the best shooter on that team.
Yeah, I mean, really, they are looking really good. And I have to say, later today, so Tuesday, December 24th, I am actually speaking for the Lacrosse Matrix podcast, the latest episode with Tracy Koluski, the associate head coach / offensive wizard of that offense. So going to be interesting to talk with him about what's been going on. He obviously was with the Wings during their very first season. And interestingly enough, the only guy on that offense that's still around since that first season is Blaze Reardon.
We haven't even mentioned Blaze Reardon as we talk about this offense. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. So I think we're probably reaching our time limit for the section. And we've got other stuff to get to. We are going to take a look at we've looked at what's going on in Halifax. We're going to do a preview this week, Vancouver at Calgary. the Del Bianco Bowl. I have
Yeah.
an interesting proposal, and we're going to take a look at our awards segment, which is a little different this week. So let's move on to that. I am Steven Stamp. He's Adam Levy, and this is Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. It wobble, and it will keep wobbling right after this.